two well-intentioned college professors.
Who told you, in effect, to lower your
the
voice?
pitch of my voice because I had a nasal, thin voice.
What did your voice sound like back then?
I am Mort Cooper, talk like that. And
so that was like a kind of a Brooklyn, Bronxy kind of voice?
Well, it was a typical New York sound. But
not typical of the Upper East Side.
Oh yes, they talk of the British talk up there. It's a status-oriented thing. If I had lived in Britain and I was among the rich and the famous and the lords and so forth, I'd be perfectly fine up there. But I wasn't very persuasive with that voice. These two well-intentioned college professors told me to lower the pitch of my voice. So they didn't have the awareness. They were well-intentioned. And I talk like this. Hi, I'm Mort Cooper. How are you? And it was a great sound. There was tension in the lower throat. And I didn't realize that...
Were you speaking with volume at the time?
Well, I did use volume because I was very shy at the time. And a debate coach, I went after the debate coach, the debate team, and the coach was very, very observant, seeing me have my eyes up in my head and foaming at the mouth and my knees shaking. And he sat back in his swivel chair and he said in his deep voice, "There are only 4 years, Cooper." So I was hopeless. But he helped me to overcome stage fright by sending me to the chorus, which had me sing basso profundo in the lower throat, which added to the tension. He helped me to get stage parts in stage plays, and eventually I got a lead, which I realized my voice is failing, but nobody heard it. And I played, when I was 20 years of age, I was playing a fellow in Both Your Houses who was in his 50s. And that's maturity down here all the way. And it's the lower throat. It's a great sound. People don't realize what it is. And
but I mean, if you didn't use volume, could somebody sustain that deep
Henry
voice without blowing their voice out?
Oh yeah, Henry Kissinger. I feel the situation that they have, and he talks like this, and they just use more amplification. And it's kind of, he fries his voice, but he doesn't push if you listen to him.
So
Irma Bombeck said, if you listen to Henry Kissinger, you miss the first few words, folks. It's all over. He doesn't have that joie de vivre or the sense of outgoing sensibility, and it fits his character.
So it's not a bouncy, enthusiastic voice.
No, it's a very severe voice, and it worked for Henry Kissinger, but it didn't work for me. And
what happened to your voice eventually?
Well, it was beginning to show wear and tear, and I was having a lot of problems.
Yeah, I like what you just said, wear and tear.
Yeah.
Because that's the basic theory of one of the great minds of the 20th century. I mean, we know the fellow who single-handedly presented the idea that stress, strain, and wear and tear can break down any organ system in the body in creating a whole host of symptoms. Not genes, not germs, and not all these mysterious elements that are in the environment, but rather the effect of prolonged and protracted wear and tear can break people down. That is basically what you're saying about the eventual mechanical breakdown of the human voice.
Yeah.
Why is your profession so immune to hearing this simple explanation, which makes perfect sense in every other part of medicine, that they've been open to it and receptive to it? Why did they slam the door in your face?
Well, they didn't prior to the onset of drug companies taking over the treatment of bad, raspy, and strangled voices. The medical profession was quite open to understanding misuse and abuse of the voice, and there's quite a bit of literature in the field. I published that literature in a book called Modern Techniques of Voice Rehabilitation in '73. No, the medical community was quite aware of the tie-in between voice misuse and abuse and growth on the vocal cord, bad and raspy voices, but they weren't aware, nobody was aware of that leading to the strangled voice. It was considered to be due to a mind problem, psychosocial, whatever attributes you want to put to it, but it was believed to be willful misuse or willful abuse of the voice by the psychiatric.
Now, the medical profession believes that the strangled voice is a function or is due to dystonia,
Today.
which is a neurological condition that involves runaway muscles, okay, renegade muscles that are out of control and spasming.
Yeah, from the basal ganglia, that's a leading theory,
Yeah.
from chemical imbalance in
Now,
the brain.
they claim that they have a state-of-the-art, a new treatment for this that's been out for 7, 8, 9, 10 years now, or maybe even longer, maybe more like 15 years, which is injecting the vocal folds, the musculature of the vocal cords, with Botox. Now, that's a novel approach, and the manufacturer is claiming that that's 99% effective. Now, how can you continue to operate as a voice specialist treating these conditions when all a patient has to do is go down, according to Allergan, get a shot from a reputable ENT man, otolaryngologist, and they're done with it. Now, that's what they claim. Now, how is it that you wind up with these patients?
Well, I think the claim is wonderful. I suggest if you have the condition, the strangled voice or a bad and raspy voice, and you're told that Botox, which came into its essence in 1984, brought to the field by Dr. Mitchell Bryn back then, who noted the relationship between eye spasms and neck spasms, torticollis, working for Botox, it was believed, and transferring it to strangled vocal cords. Your question again, why do I argue with the field? Because
no, I mean, if the
know what your question
manufacturer is
is.
true, why would any patient, if it's 99% effective, why would they go to you?
I understand the question. I'm getting around to the
Okay.
answer. The point is that you have to try it to see if it works. Now, there's a lot of hype and things that we hear day in and day out from different companies, medical procedures and non-medical procedures and so forth. The question is, try it and see, does it work for you? I hear from the people, I see the people, email, calls, letters, people in person, who prove conclusively from their experience with Botox, having taken 5 shots, 10 shots, 15 shots, 20, 30, 40, 50 shots, it's not working for them. And they're looking for another approach. So I see two groups of people. Those who have tried Botox, and I don't oppose it. I said try it and see if it works for you. It worked for some. The figure of 99% I think is quite overblown. I'm not taken with that figure. But it's based on a personal experience, a clinical experience. I'm not privy to know what's going on in each office in this country. I don't find the reports that outgoing because since Botox is an off-label drug or an orphan drug, physicians do not have to report serious side effects and basically don't. So I'm seeing the fallout from Botox in my practice, and it's telling me it's not 99% effective. It's not 90%, it's not 80%, it's not 70, it's not 60, it's not 50. I see it falling off a cliff, but that's from personal
But I
experience.
mean, effective at what?
Effective at what? Of bringing back the normal voice, they're saying,
But
or stopping the
don't patients
spasms.
who have had Botox injections wind up with a Botox-sounding voice?
Which you can describe. What is that Botox-sounding voice? It's
Well,
called the Botox voice.
It's called the Botox voice, and it's a voice that really characterizes these unappealing and almost painful kind of strained spasms with a breathiness that is resulting. So they walk in with a form of spasmodic dysphonia, which is called adductor, which is like somebody's choking them or squeezing their throat.
Or abductor.
And then they wind up being induced into abductor,
Which is a breathy.
which is this breathy sort of breaking up of the voice.
Strangled strain. I can't do
Yeah.
a breathy voice.
And
yeah.
so that becomes the Botox voice. What's interesting to me is that the medical outcome can be one of relieving spasms, but not necessarily improving the sound or quality or resonance of the human voice.
Well, for a little while, they say, the voice may come back for a short period of time. That's true in some. I've spoken with some who have a good voice for a short period of time. One of the individuals I saw was an MD who said he took a Botox shot every month, and he would have 2 weeks of a normal voice, and then he would have this strangled, strained voice again, or degrading of the Botox shot where it left him with a and so he's on a Botox shot for life once every 2 weeks. And I asked him about the long-term concern of his health. He ignored that question. But that's the concern. I don't know if it's effective, and to how many it's effective. That remains outside of my province to judge. But I can tell you from clinical experience that I see the fallout, and it's extensive. Am I seeing only the fallout, or am I not privy to a wider spectrum where Botox is more effective? I can only judge it from my personal clinical practice.
What's interesting is one of your colleagues in the field, Dr. Arnie Aronson, that's with 2 A's, by the way, Aaronson. Now, he's indicated...
At the Mayo Clinic.
At the Mayo Clinic. He's indicated that the patients that you treat are psychiatric patients, that these are psychogenic variety. He calls them psychogenic because he believes that the mechanism of action is not neurological. It is, in a sense, psychiatric. Now, are you a competent psychiatrist? Are you somebody who's oriented toward using psychotherapy to help these patients?
No, but he also has, no, absolutely not. But he's also said that my cures, and he acknowledges the cures I have of spasmodic dysphonia, are psychogenic in nature. He adds in writing that the ear, nose, and throat doctors are weeding out the neurological cases, and I'm only seeing the psychogenic cases, or rather just the reverse. I'm seeing, how does he say that?
No, he is exactly right. You're exactly right. He's saying that you're winding up, the ear, nose, and throat doctors are basically sending you their psychogenic cases.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is that these guys do absolutely no psychological screening at all, and that many of the cases that you yourself have treated have come from major medical centers, have been diagnosed by MDs who made no mention whatsoever of psychogenic varieties. As a matter of fact, had legitimate adductor or abductor spasmodic dysphonia. And yet the fact that he's acknowledging that you get a cure is a step in the right direction, in the sense that if you can demonstrate now that these are not psychogenic cases, these are legitimate SD cases, he will have to accept that you do have an effective cure.
Well, the other point is the ear, nose, and throat doctors are not trained in psychiatric care. They don't probe, they don't question, they diagnose. So his position that they're weeding out a certain group of cases, and I'm only seeing psychogenic, he's making them into top psychiatrists.
Which they don't do, because as far as you know, that these physicians
they're not trained in that.
Are not putting them through any kind of a psychological screening.
No.
What he's assuming is because you're getting results, they cannot be real SD. It must be a psychogenic variety.
Yes, because he's saying neurological, I can't change. But I'm saying it's not neurological.
Now, I spoke
That's
with,
the point.
with Dr. Aronson, and I mentioned to him that Dr. Mitchell Bren, who introduced Botox to the field in '84, has indicated he doesn't even believe that there are varieties of psychogenic SD. He thinks they're all neurological in nature.
Right.
Okay. Now, that's the other question I have. Are you a neurologist?
No.
Are you able to reverse neurological conditions?
Absolutely
Then
not.
how are you able to get results with patients that
because
are
the
neurologically
answer is very
based?
simple. Spasmodic dysphonia is not a neurological problem from my experience. And it's basically not a psychiatric problem. It's a problem of wrong placement in the lower throat. And that's what I noticed in '68, and that was the moment of truth. And on myself, suffering a voice problem because I was directed to the wrong range and the wrong focus. It was the wrong focus, the lower throat. And it took me a period of time to realize that nearly all voice problems are located in the lower throat, bad and raspy voices, and all strangled voices are in the lower throat. Therefore, they can be changed by voice placement, and that's the key. So there's voice insanity.
So the voice insanity then is this one man against the entire world that is saying it's neurological, or, as Dr. Aronson says, it's psychiatric.
Well, you judge. Thank you very much, Dr. Curtis. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, though, that it's the neurological view or the psychiatric view, and yet 100 years have elapsed, and without any real success with psychiatric treatment. Now you've got another 40 years that have gone by with neurological treatment with basically the same results as their great psychiatric cures.
And the point, nobody has a cure in the medical field.
Well,
not one. For
but there is somebody who
132.
does. There's one person that has a cure for this, And they have a cure because they're basically pointed in the
But
right
they
direction.
don't accept cures by me.
No.
That's the issue. And they're not going to accept cures because it doesn't feed their bottom line in the drug industry, in my opinion, and the medical community remains with a paradigm that holds to the fact that spasmodic dysphonia is incurable when in fact it has been cured. So